A man holds absolute power over someone's life, then fate hands that same power to his victim. What does the victim do with it? This is my story. Learn from it.
I was kidnapped by Douglas in 2013. 11 years later, he was rushed to my hospital. Before you judge me, tell us what you would have done if you were me.
Life stories with the innocent. Stories just for you. Ancient wisdom for modern lives.
Birmingham City Hospital. The theaters are loud tonight. A gurney crashes through double doors. Blood-soaked sheets. A man shot twice, internal bleeding, blood pressure gone, minutes from death. The team moves. Fast, loud, controlled chaos. Dr. James Whitfield, 44 years old, senior trauma surgeon, reaches for his gloves. He snaps them on. He looks down at the patient, and he freezes. The room keeps moving around him. Nurses shouting vitals, suction whining, metal clattering against metal. But James cannot move, because he knows that face. He has seen it every night for 11 years, in his nightmares. We need to go back to where this began. Nigeria, 2013, Enugu State. Dr. James Whitfield is 33 years old, idealistic, eager, on a long-term deployment with an international medical NGO that has brought him to the heart of southeastern Nigeria. He has a small flat above a pharmacy on a narrow street that smells of groundnut oil and rain. He greets the market women by name. He has learned enough Igbo phrases to make the clinic nurses cover their mouths when they laugh. He eats jollof rice with his bare hands now and doesn't think twice about it. Nigeria has become something close to home. The rural clinic where he works is understaffed and undersupplied. The lights flicker when it rains. The generator coughs before it catches. But the need is real, and James shows up every single day. One evening, a road accident case arrives. A woman and her 6-year-old daughter, traveling through the area, their vehicle caught in a collision on the road. The girl is brought in critical. Head trauma, blood loss, not breathing well. James works through the night, flickering lights, sweat on his forehead, dust on the floor, blood on his gloves. He does not leave that room. By morning, the girl is stable. The mother sits by the bed. She cannot speak. She only reaches for James's hands and holds them, both of them, in hers. She holds them for a long time. James squeezes back, then he moves on. That is the work. Weeks later, the NGO assigns James to Port Harcourt. An official visit, meetings with local health commissioners, a tour of a riverine community clinic, a working dinner that runs later than planned. He is on his way back to his hotel when the road is blocked. Armed men, efficient, organized. Their leader stands slightly apart from the others. He is well dressed, even in the chaos of what is happening. His clothes are pressed, his manner controlled. He wears a gold ring on his right hand. He looks at James, not with hatred, with indifference. Complete, cold, absolute indifference. To this man, James Whitfield is not a doctor, not a person, not a life. He is simply a commodity. James is taken. The NGO raises the alarm within hours. The British High Commission is notified. The story breaks on Nigerian television. Then international wire services. British NGO doctor kidnapped in Port Harcourt. His name, his photograph, his face, on screens across the country. In Birmingham, Claire, James's wife, sits by the telephone. She does not leave the house. In Enugu, the nurses at the rural clinic light candles at the church on the corner. In the room where James is held, there is one small window near the ceiling. Not enough light to read by, barely enough to mark the passage of time. He scratches a tally into the wall, day 1, day 2, day 3. He marks every day through the first week, through the second, through the third. On day 31, he stops. Not because he loses count, but because hope becomes unbearable. When James is finally released, on day 47, he is walked out of that room and into blinding daylight. He pauses at the door. He looks back at the wall. The tally is unfinished. 31 scratches, then nothing. The space where the remaining 16 days should be, blank wall. He would carry that unfinished tally home inside him for 11 years. But that release did not happen by accident. About a month after James is taken, Chief Douglas's wife is sitting in their Lagos home. The evening news is on. She is only half watching. Life continues. The children need dinner. Her phone has messages. Then a face fills the screen. She goes completely still. She knows that face. She has been praying for that face. That face belongs to the doctor who worked through the night in a rural clinic in Enugu State and gave her daughter back to her. Her hands start shaking. She picks up the phone. She calls her husband. She says, "Douglas, the doctor they took, the one on the news, I know him. He is the one. He saved Adaeze." Chief Douglas says nothing for a long moment. Then he makes a call of his own. 17 days later, James Whitfield is released. He has been held for 47 days in total. He flies back to Birmingham. He resigns from the NGO. He never returns to Nigeria, but he never forgets the ring. Back to the present. Birmingham City Hospital, night. The man bleeding on the table is Chief Douglas, 58 years old, Lagos businessman, shot twice during what police are calling a targeted attack. He is in Birmingham for a real estate investment summit that now lies in pieces. His associates crowd the corridor outside, expensive suits, frantic phone calls, threats involving lawyers, embassies, consulates, the kind of noise that powerful men generate when they are frightened. Inside the theater, Dr. Priya Okonkwo, James's registrar, reads from the chart. Her voice is steady but urgent. She says, "Hemathorax, suspected splenic laceration, BP crashing. James, you are the only trauma surgeon on tonight. We need to move." Now, James looks through the small window in the theater door. He sees the man on the table. The gold ring catches the theater light. James turns and walks away. He sits in the supply room, alone, in the dark. He does not know how long he sits there, a minute, maybe 2, maybe 10. He pulls out his phone, he calls his wife. Claire picks up on the second ring. She always does when it is the hospital at night. James says, "There is a man dying in my theater, Claire." Claire says, "Then go save him." A silence. James says, "He is the one. Port Harcourt. He is the one who took me." Claire does not gasp. She does not cry. She has carried this alongside James for 11 years. She knows exactly what this moment costs. She says, "James, I know what he did to you. I know what those 47 days cost us both. But if you walk away and he dies tonight, I already lost you for 47 days. Don't lose yourself tonight." James closes his eyes. He hangs up. He sits for another 90 seconds. The supply room door bursts open. Dr. Priya, eyes wide. She says, "James, we are losing him. Right now." James stands up. The theater lights are blinding. James scrubs in, gown, mask, gloves. He takes his position at the table. Chief Douglas is unconscious. His chest is open. His blood pressure is almost gone. The team moves around James in practiced silence, each person knowing their role, trusting him completely. James begins. At one point, deep into the first hour, he needs to reposition Douglas's arm to reach the splenic vessel. He lifts the arm. The surgical light catches the gold ring on Douglas's right hand. For a fraction of a second, less than a breath, James is back on a bush road in Port Harcourt. Headlights, dust. A man in pressed clothes standing slightly apart, watching with indifferent eyes. A gold ring catching the last of the evening light. The monitor spikes. Dr. Priya says, "James." He blinks. The suction pulls him back. He steadies his hands. He continues. 3 hours. 3 hours of controlled, precise, relentless surgery. His team will later say that James was at his best that night, that he worked with a focus they had rarely seen, that he seemed to be fighting for something beyond the clinical. What they cannot see is that he is crying behind his mask. They assume it is exhaustion. Chief Douglas survives. Day 3 post-surgery. Chief Douglas is sitting up in a private room, associates outside, phone on the bed, already rebuilding his world from a hospital pillow. James enters. He dismisses the associates. They object. He holds the door open and says nothing. They leave. For the first time in 11 years, the two men are in the same room. And for the first time, James has the power. The gold ring is back on Douglas's finger. James pulls a chair, sits down. looks at the man who stole 47 days of his life and 11 years of his sleep. He says quietly, "You don't remember me." It is not a question. Chief Douglas studies him, a flicker behind the eyes, the calculation of a powerful man. Deny, deflect, manage. Douglas says, "I am afraid I meet many people in my line of work." James says, "Port Harcourt, 2013, a bush road. You were giving orders in a low voice. You had a gold ring on your right hand. You looked at me like I was furniture." Chief Douglas does not panic. He does not deny it. He looks at James for a long moment. Then he says, "You saved my life knowing who I am." James holds his gaze, says nothing. Douglas says, "Why?" James says, "Because I am a doctor, and because the moment I stopped being one, to punish you, to balance some account in my head, you would have won twice. You took 47 days from me. You took 11 years of sleep. You don't get to take who I am as well, not in that theater." A long silence fills the room. Chief Douglas exhales slowly. He says, "The man who ordered your kidnapping is dead. He died in 2019. It was his operation. He was my business partner." James says, "Then why were you there?" Douglas says, "I was there, and I did nothing to stop it." That is its own truth. Another silence. Douglas says, "There is something you were never told." James says nothing. He waits. Douglas says, "About a month after you were taken, my wife was sitting at home in Lagos watching the evening news. Your face was on the screen. The story was still running. She recognized you. Weeks before your kidnapping, on the same NGO trip, you had been working at a rural clinic in Enugu State. My wife and daughter were traveling through the area. There was a road accident. Our daughter Adaeze, she was 6 years old. She was brought into your clinic, critical." James goes very still. Douglas says, "You worked through the night to save her. My wife called me from that hospital weeping to tell me our daughter was going to live. Because of you." Douglas pauses. His voice, when it comes back, is lower. He says, "A month later, she sees your face on the television screen, the kidnapped British doctor. And she calls me again. This time she is shaking. She said, 'Douglas, the man they took, he saved a daisy. I gave the instruction for your release that same night. 17 days later, you were free. 47 days. 17 of them waiting for a woman in Lagos to turn on the evening news. 30 of them because no one knew yet. The tally on the wall, 31 marks. Then silence. Then, unseen, unknown to James, someone made the call. The unfinished tally was finished after all, just not by him." James says, "You don't get forgiveness from me today. Maybe not ever. But you are alive. And that has to mean something, for both of us." He stands, moves to the door, then stops. He says, "There is a rural clinic in Enugu State, the one where your daughter was treated. They need a proper operating theater, not a tent, not a room with flickering lights, a real one, equipped, staffed, permanent. If you are the man you are describing to me tonight, you will know what to do." He does not wait for an answer. He leaves. 6 months later, an envelope arrives at Birmingham City Hospital, no return address. James's name handwritten on the front. Inside, 2 photographs. The first is a picture of a newly completed building in Enugu State. Clean concrete, a proper entrance, medical equipment visible through the windows. Not a tent, not a room with flickering lights, a real theater. Above the entrance, a small metal plaque reads, "The Whitfield Douglas Surgical Theater." James looks at it for a long time. Then he looks at the second photograph. A girl, 17 years old now, standing in front of that building in a school uniform. She is looking directly at the camera. She is not smiling exactly, but there is something certain in her eyes. On the back of the photograph, written carefully in blue ink, she wants to study medicine. James does not smile, but he does not look away. He places both photographs in his desk drawer, not hidden, not displayed, kept. Some wounds cannot be healed by medicine, only by choice.